Um, Friends, I'm really excited to be sharing this webinar today, which is, as you can see, the topic is about creating your circle of trust. Now, you might say that, what has this got to do with weight loss? Well, I'll tell you something. If there is one thing that I have learned over the course of last 3 decades of operating in this space of weight loss surgery and also dealing with emotions, if you do not have people or your environment that is able to uplift you, well, you know what? It gets a very difficult task to be going uphill all the time. And that's what we're going to be talking about. It's about creating frameworks of support around you, which will help you not only achieve weight loss, but maintain that long-term success. So, without further ado, friends, today there's going to be a lot of exciting content that is going to come in your way. And very importantly, we're going to have a very special person. Sorry, I was just trying to share my screen and something happened. So just give me 1 second. I'm just trying to stop share, and I'm going to just go back to sharing my screen again. Google is good when it is working. When it's not working, there are issues. 1 second. Yes. Can everybody see my screen? The circle of trust? Yes. Beautiful. Awesome. So what we'll do is I'm going to take you through a few introductory slides, and then we are going to get into the practical aspects of what we are going to be talking about today. Now, I will be throwing some questions to you, and the way this is going to work is that towards the latter half of this webinar, I'm going to invite a very special guest. Now, that special guest, as you know, is always going to be somebody who is going to be sharing some wisdom from lived experience. And if there is one thing that is coming up in a big way now, I see this, friends, that is the power of lived experience. We can talk a lot of theory, but if you do not have role models, you will never be able to be convinced to take action. So when we talk about what is going to go on in this space, in the space of weight loss specifically, well, I can tell you the principles will apply to you as a person. It is about understanding what is driving you. So with that, let's progress further. For those of you who don't know me, I hope everybody knows me, but for those of you who don't know me, Dr. Arun Dhir is my name. I'm really passionate about helping individuals by empowering them with education. If there's one thing that can change a person's behavior, that starts with education. I see myself as an instrument of service to be able to provide valid information to you. And then you take it and use that information to create lasting transformation. I believe that building reliable support for lasting weight loss success and maintenance should be the goal of every individual. Now, for somebody who's not on a weight loss journey, when they have achieved their ideal goal weight or their healthy weight, let's call it that way, well, for them, it is about maintaining lasting health. If somebody is experiencing issues with relationships, it's about having lasting relationship success. So you can replace that word weight loss with any of those key things that value so much to us. So with that, I want to sort of, share with you what are you going to learn today, because it's important for you to understand that what is this webinar about. So firstly, you will learn that weight loss is not a solo journey. You'll also learn how to build a support network that uplifts you, who should be in your circle of trust and who should not be in your circle of trust. I think both things are equally important, as you would appreciate. And then we will get some tips on how to keep this circle strong and sustainable. So I think the key factor that a lot of people overlook when they are on this journey of weight loss, they're focusing on nutrition, they're focusing on exercise. But scientific study which was published in this obesity journal in 2021 stated that people with strong social support are 2 times more likely to maintain their success over 2 years. 2 times, you immediately double your chances of long-term success. So it's really about understanding what forms that social support. And if I can present this to you in the simplest possible way, it is formed by these 5 pillars that you can see over here. And we will elaborate upon this a little bit more, but I'm just giving you a big picture like a helicopter view. So the 5 things are professional guidance. You absolutely need somebody who's a subject matter expert, we call it. You need peer support. You need a group of people who are in that same situation as you, and they give you that support, or you can sort of ask them questions without feeling judged. You need to develop those healthy relationships. Having accountability partners. Now, there's a difference between peer support and accountability partners, which we'll talk about in a moment. And of course, self-trust. So let's talk about professional support first. These are your expert guides, whether it is a surgeon, whether it's a physician, your GP, your dietitian, psychologist, or any other expert in a space that they are credentialed, they are qualified, they are subject matter experts. But I think you would notice that one thing which is there is that, and for those of you who may have seen different doctors, and I think the important thing is the values need to be aligned. Your values need to be aligned with the person who you are taking opinion from. Otherwise, their opinion may not create the desired impact, or it may not cause you to take the desired action that you should be taking. So value alignment and goal alignment is very essential. Peer support. Now, peer support is something which is about these group of people around you who are your cheerleaders. I think it's really important to understand that support groups are great. Yes, when we started out in our practice, we started with, meeting up. I remember in days in Monash, when I started off, we started a support group. We would meet in person. Remember those pre-COVID days when there was not as many Zoom meetings? Well, that's what we would do. Meet in person, talk about, what are the challenges and all that. But then it started to move towards more and more online people. They started to connect, which is great actually, because you can be watching this from the convenience of your home, but you could still be interacting in a live environment. And this is very commonly done in the space of group fitness classes, meal prep communities, and things like that. This is really important, which doesn't get talked as much. That is the role of close relationships. I think I will make a confession here. One thing that I realized is that it is the people who are closest to you that have the potential to hurt you the most. Now, I'm not saying this in a way that we don't love people who are close to us, but I think we need to understand where the boundaries are. And that's where a healthy relationship provides you with that emotional encouragement that you need. Also, it allows you to make those changes those behavioral changes in a supportive environment by reducing the toxic stress which is there. Red flags, which I know we will talk about a little bit later, is like, people who are sabotaging each other, who are putting their partners through a guilt trip for doing what they want to do. And this is where engaging in some self-reflective exercises is going to be a really critical part of it. And I know towards the end of this class, Monique will probably be talking a little bit about that. The other thing is about accountability partners. Now, peer support is more in a group environment, whereas accountability partner is more one-on-one. You could have this one good friend who's your, school time buddy, or they know you really well, you've been on a good journey, or, you are in the same kids group, whichever way it is. But this is a trusted person with whom you can open up without feeling judged. All they do is they don't even need to be subject matter experts, not at all. They just need to keep you accountable. And there is one thing that is said, that human beings are more accountable to others than they are to themselves. If you have made a decision that I'm going to get up in the morning at 6 o'clock, whereas your normal wake up time would be 7 o'clock, and you're making a resolution to get up at 6 in the morning and go for a walk, Well, your accountability partner, if you have an accountability partner, you are more likely to stick to that because they're going to check in with you perhaps the end of the week, that how many times did you actually get up at 6 in the morning. So that's something which allows you to be honest about what you have committed to do and whether you are sticking to it or not. And the last and perhaps the most important aspect of this missing link is trusting yourself. You know, that circle of trust that we are talking about, well, you are the central axle of that circle of trust, right? So you are the most important person in that. How do you build self-trust? And this is what we will talk about today, because I think this is essential to understand that when somebody has been on this journey of, and I say this with a lot of respect, on a journey of weight gain, weight loss, weight gain, weight loss, the one thing that gets the most hit is confidence or self-trust. Would you agree with me? Can I have a thumbs up if you agree with what I'm saying is really true? Because that, I feel, is the essence of it. The essence is that your self-esteem, your self-confidence takes a big hit. That needs to be built up, and these are the mechanisms to build it up. So journaling, honoring small commitments, as I've shared with you, and I know, we will hear a little bit more about it. But I think the key thing is that self-trust is the first secret of any success. You've got to trust yourself. Anybody who's done anything amazing, inspirational in their lives, trusted in themselves and had faith in a higher source, whatever you call that source. I think those were the two key ingredients: self-trust and faith in your source. So, how do you start to create and strengthen this circle of trust that we are talking about? Well, I think there are some practical tips that I can offer before I bring in our special guest for this evening. So practical tips are by setting boundaries with unsupportive people. We all have these people in our lives, and you know what? God bless them. Some of these people, unsupportive people, they are very close to us. That's why they have the strength of pulling the strings the way they can. And I think it was really important for us to understand that we need to learn to how we can set boundaries, how we can shift the conversations if we know that they are turning into a negative space. We need clear communication. We can say, all right, I can share this with an honest confession. I used to have sometimes these difficult challenges with my parents. Now, you can't change your parents, but I think you need to adjust and adapt, which is what this is all about. And we got to keep reviewing and evolving this support system. Don't be afraid to edit your circle. Sometimes you have to let go of some people. And that is fine. That's okay. Because that relationship was meant to be for that period of time only. So I guess keeping that in mind, the next thing that I want to kind of, bring to you is our special guest, because, I could talk a lot about all of this, but I think we want to hear from somebody who's with us today and how their sort of, challenges allowed them to morph their circle of trust. So I want to introduce you to Sharday. Sharday is here with us today, and I am going to invite her to be one of our sort of, she can come up to the sort of panel so that she's able to unmute herself. And what an amazing journey Sharday has undertaken. Like, I think the essence is not just in the pretty photos that you see, but the energy that the person radiates. So Sharday, if you're on the call, I'd appreciate if you can unmute yourself, and if you can kindly turn on your camera. There you are. How are you, Sharday? Lovely to see you.
Nice to see you. I'm good. How are you?
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. You look great. I think ever since we connected for the first time, I could see that you had this, how can I call it, the energy that you were determined to achieve something. That's the sense that I got, that you were very clear about your goals. You had the sense of clarity. So I want to ask you, Sharday, give us a little bit of an idea about what were your challenges when you were having those weight issues. Give us a bit of an idea, please.
I struggled with a lot of things. I struggled with sleep. I struggled with my self-esteem. I struggled with, just doing everyday things like walking up the stairs. Prior to gaining weight because of medication that changed, the way my body functioned.
Mm.
I used to train at the gym at least 3, 4 times a week. I was very cautious about what I ate. Ate, within portion of, sugars and carbs and fats and everything was, in the
Everything was
right
measured.
proportion. Everything was measured. I was very, very careful.
Yes.
But yeah, from, 2021, I was diagnosed with a rare condition which required me to go on medication. And from that, things started to change. So,
Would it
yeah,
be okay for you, Sharday, to tell us what that was? Just if you're
yeah, of
comfortable
course.
with
So,
that.
yeah, absolutely. So I was diagnosed with IIH, which is idiopathic hypertension.
Okay, I can explain that.
Yeah,
It is idiopathic intracranial hypertension. So what
hypertension.
that
Yeah.
means
So,
is it's a just for the sake of everybody, it is a condition where the CSF pressure, the intracranial pressure of the brain cavity essentially increases and it starts to create damage to your optic nerve.
yeah. So
So over to you,
once
Shadi.
once I was diagnosed, I was put on some medication which helped. It helped withdraw fluid. I started gaining weight from that condition, which was very strange.
Hmm.
Um, when I did get off the medication, it's almost like my body wasn't sure how to deal without the medication. So
Yeah.
I started gaining weight very, very quickly. I gained about 30 to 40 kilos in about 5 months,
Wow.
which was very hard on my body. From medication, I would get pins and needles. I couldn't walk up the stairs because, obviously you can't tell the medication where to take fluid from. So it was taken from my joints.
Hmm.
Um, Not being able to move was really hard for me because I was so active.
Yes.
So it put me in a bit of a rut where I just couldn't get out of it. And I had like a really down mood where I was like, well, this is just what I'm going to be like from
Yeah.
now on. So I, didn't really try to do much until I got to a point where I was like, no, I can't. I was waking up tired because I couldn't breathe while I was sleeping and,
Hmm.
having those sort of symptoms. And that's when I came and saw you
Yeah.
after I tried several other things as well.
And Shade, can I ask, did you try these weight loss injections like
I did.
Ozempic?
I did.
Yes?
Yeah. So before I came to see you, Arun,
Yes.
I was seeing a dietitian,
Yes.
again, weighing my food, measuring everything,
Hmm.
eating 6 times a day like I should. I was trying to exercise as much as I could. No weight was coming off. Then
Hmm.
my doctor suggested Ozempic.
Yes.
So I tried Ozempic. I tried it for about 2.5 months and didn't even lose 2 kilos on it. So
Hmm.
it, yeah, it just was not working for me. And then, yeah, we started doing some research and we came across you. And I think I came to see you for the gastric balloon.
You did. Yes.
And then, yeah, while I was sitting with you and you were asking if I was tired all the time, and I said, yeah, I'm very tired from my job and, running around. But then we came to the conclusion that I wasn't actually tired from my job. I was actually tired because I had undiagnosed sleep apnea from my weight gain.
That's
So,
right.
yeah, and then when, obviously that first consultation with you, you recommended the gastric sleeve. And then from there, we just, yeah, went on and
Yeah.
did everything we needed to do to get it booked in.
Yeah. So, Shade, we know of your success, and I don't want to talk too much about it, but I think keeping in line with today's topic of circle of trust, because if there's one thing that I've seen with my patients, both men and women, the challenges are really emotional, right?
Mhm.
Everybody knows eat healthy, exercise more, and you lose weight. Everybody knows that, right?
Yeah.
But we struggle to do that. We know what to do, but we don't do what we know. So, can I
Yes.
ask you, keeping in line with this, what were your unique challenges? You decided to start on this journey of gastric sleeve.
Hmm.
What were you fearful about? What were your big fears?
I remember telling you, Dr. Arun, that I was scared of the lifestyle change.
Yes,
Coming from a Middle Eastern background, everything for us is food. So, someone comes for a coffee, they don't just come for a coffee.
I can relate to that easily.
We have food out. There's everything we do is, with food. So
Of
I
course.
think I was very fearful of that and missing out. I don't like to miss out on a lot, but I remember you saying, do you eat to live or do you like live to eat? So,
Yeah.
and that really put things into perspective for me. So I had
Yeah.
to put that aside. And I was
Mm.
also very fearful, to be honest, about it not going to how I expect it to be.
Yeah.
So, sometimes, and, I've had friends that say that they're on like gastric sleeve Facebook pages and they read so much negative things that have happened to people and how they can't eat and they can't keep food down. And I think
Mm.
that was my biggest thing. I didn't want to live like that.
No.
But at the same
Okay.
time, I pretty much had nothing to lose because I wasn't living, how I was then. So I
Yeah.
just, and my husband, was very supportive and said, you won't know until you try. So we just
Wow.
went with our gut instinct and said if we have to do it.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Your first most it was you in your circle of trust, number one, and your husband was supportive. So, like, I
Yeah.
mean, two key elements out of the five that we just spoke about were on your side. Did you have any people, and I'm sorry to be asking you these questions, but you can be as discreet as you want to, but just for the
Yeah.
benefit of everyone, did you have people that you had to edit out of your circle of trust? Like, I mean,
I
unsupportive
did. I felt,
people
yeah,
or people who
I felt
were
like
like,
some
or
people,
habits, even habits could be unsupportive, like too much doom scrolling, as we say. Uh,
yeah, I feel like maybe people was a thing and they were probably the certain people that I thought were probably going to be like my biggest advocates and be like, yep, this is going to be great. You're going to feel good. I don't know if it was that they thought that maybe it just wasn't going to be what I had in my head, that it was going to be
hmm,
great and I'm going to feel better.
that's
Um,
right.
but I felt like I had to block that noise out because I really wanted to feel my best again. I wanted to feel what I felt
Yeah,
like 3 years ago before I got sick. So
yeah.
I just felt like I had to really block that noise out and just go with the people that,
Uplift
I
you.
knew wanted the best for me. Yeah.
Yeah, genuinely.
And I had a lot of that. I had more people like that than I did those that were the noise that I wanted to block out. So I was very, very fortunate.
Oh, that's so good, that you are able to recognize that,
Yeah.
who is genuinely a well-wisher and genuinely wants me to succeed. So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit, Sade, about your goals. Where are you heading to now? I mean, what's happening?
Um, I feel like now I am very content with my weight. It was a year in December last year that I
Okay, so
had
it's about a year and a
had
half
had my
now. That
a
okay,
year and a half now.
right?
Um, I definitely exceeded my weight more than what I thought I would, to be
Yes.
honest.
Mm-hmm.
I started at 105 when I saw you,
Yes.
and I'm 60 kilos now. So,
Yeah.
yeah, what is that? 40 something kilos. I don't weigh
Yeah.
myself anymore,
Very good.
which is great.
And how's your
But it's
condition? Have you had a check like with your
yes, I
intracranial?
have. Yeah, so I don't need to wear glasses anymore to help with my vision. My
Yes.
optic nerves are not swollen. I haven't snored since I dropped the first 15 kilos,
Mm,
which is great.
right.
Um, I'm able to, I go to the gym every day. I'm very active. I feel like now, even little things like sitting on a chair with my legs to my chest.
Yeah.
Like some people might feel like, well, that's not a big deal, but it is. Like sitting on the floor when I worked as a
Yeah.
director at an early childcare center before I had gastric sleeve, and I couldn't
Yes.
even sit on the floor with my legs crossed. So,
Yeah. And that might
just
be
doing,
yeah, that might be important for you, especially with kids, when you're
yeah,
dealing with kids.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, my condition's good now. I don't have any swelling in the brain. I don't have any fluid in my back. Yeah, it's fixed everything. I'm not on any medication. So,
That's fantastic. That's
yeah.
lovely to hear that. By the way, Sade was, in full disclosure, Sade was one of our first few patients who was having the A sleeve, which is the a slightly modified technique that we have evolved, which allows patients to go home early. You went home the next day. I
I
believe.
did, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I got home at like 2:30 the next day. So that was really
yeah.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. By the way, if anybody has any questions for Sharday, you can put it in the chat box. But thank you, Sharday. We will keep continuing with our last few slides. It's such a delight when I see people come back and they're just radiating, they're glowing in a different way, which is fantastic. Goal now is to maintain this success. And I think that's really the essential part. And the whole purpose of these webinars that we do, and we invite guests like yourself, Sade, the whole premise and the purpose is to be able to provide a sort of evidence to people that, success can be achieved with mental clarity, determination, and support. So thank you so much, Sade, for taking out the
Thank
time.
you
But
for having me.
please don't go away because we may have some questions for you. I'll just continue with my last few slides. So, the key takeaways over here are that weight loss is a team sport. You've heard me say that weight loss is a marathon, it's not a sprint. A circle of trust amplifies your chances of success and, very importantly, improves your emotional well being. And the journey is personal but not meant to be lonely. So please don't feel ever that you were meant to be doing all of this on your own. You were never meant to do it alone. So surround yourself, as Oprah Winfrey says, with people who can lift you higher. And you know what, friends? If you really want to dig deep into this, you need to attend Coach Monique's masterclass, I should say, which is she runs the Genesis program. Some of you are already in the group, I know, and I'm going to bring her on in a moment. But Monique will basically just share with you what she goes into in this masterclass. So, Monique, if I can just request you to kindly unmute yourself, and there you are. Welcome and lovely to see you.
Thank
Uh,
you, and hello,
I
everyone.
yeah, please, can you share some of your insights and can you tell us a little bit, Monique, about what's going on in these master classes? Well,
Yeah,
what's happening there?
absolutely. So, our masterclass really piggybacks off Success Beyond Scales, and it's where the rubber meets the road. So, what we've gone through this evening, having a look at who are the people that you would surround yourself with, we actually go in depth. We look at the types of character that you would want to have in your circle of friends. We talk about, there was one question in the group chat which was asking about, if you have family members who are saboteurs and it's difficult to go away from them. We go through practical strategies to not so much arm yourself, but perhaps guard yourself against those comments where, you can't escape the person, but you can certainly change the way you think about those comments so that they don't penetrate so deeply the way they might in other cases. So that's what we do in the class. We really give those strategies for you to be able to walk away and go, I've got a whole box full of tools.
Oh, that's great. I mean, you're right. You can't arm yourself against such saboteurs because I know it's hard. If you arm yourself against someone else, you're creating more fight, you're creating more friction, right?
Exactly.
And that's where you have to firstly define your boundaries. So that's great. So I think if I can summarize this webinar, and we are on time. So and if there's any further questions, please feel free to sort of just put it in the chat box. I would encourage everybody who is able to come to the masterclass to join in. Dip your toes, find out what is new things that you can learn such that you can start to implement it. Because if there is one thing that I have learned, it is this: we all have blind spots, friends. And by blind spots, I mean, not just the ones that are in the rear view mirrors when we are driving, but it's really blind spots in how we see the world, right? And unless we start to appreciate and become aware of our own blind spots, we will never be able to overcome these challenges. And I know you have heard me say this time and time again: if we keep doing the same things, we will keep getting the same results. And I consciously remind myself to put myself in situations where I learn what is it that I was not seeing that this person who I'm learning from, and this could be anybody, by the way. And these days I will say this, that my mom, who I love dearly, is visiting us. right? And I have deep conversations with her. But there are times when she really pulls my strings, and that is the real test. So these people who you love so dearly and who you think that they are kind of, challenging you, they are actually making you aware of your blind spots. And I think when I started to realize this, I now share, I'm really fortunate, touch wood, I am very fortunate to share a really beautiful, good relationship with her. It's healthy. I know where my boundaries are. I've found a few tips and tricks on how I can shift conversations with her. And one of my tricks, if I can share with you, Monique, if you allow me to, is that,
Please.
I love cooking. So the moment she's going on a sort of tangent which is not going to land well, I say, "Oh, Mom, you need to tell me the recipe of this particular dish. I forgot to ask you that." And bang, there you go. Suddenly she's shifted. So I'm just sharing this with you. It may sound very silly to you, but you know what? It's worked. It's worked consistently, and I'll continue to do that without her realizing this. That's the beauty of it.
And
So,
nobody gets hurt in that
nobody gets
situation.
hurt. Yeah,
There's
nobody
no
gets
hurt
hurt.
feelings. Everybody just has a great
Exactly.
time.
And we're just having a good time. We just focus more on the good times rather than, oh, I said this and you said that.
Mm,
So
beautiful.
great. I think I've really enjoyed this webinar. I must say, guys, any concerns, questions, comments, feedback, anything, please just put it out there, because this helps us to bring more relevant content to you. If you're liking this, please invite your friends. I say that, bring your friends over, anybody who feels who you think can benefit from this conversation. It's not meant to drive a particular agenda behind this. This is being delivered in a way that this education empowers you. So with that, I want to thank everyone who's here. Monique, any final comments?
I really wanted to thank Sharday for coming along. I think, Sharday, you've mirrored for a lot of people the thoughts and the processes that they go through when, they have put on weight and get to that, you talked about that down mood, and a lot of people can relate to that. And I think, the story that you've brought to us is that, there is determination in there, but you've also had some supportive people in your life, and you've had to sift and shift a few of those people so that you have the right circle. And I think, that was one of the things that came across as so beneficial. And I wanted to ask you just one last question. Were you, and because this is relevant for a lot of people as well, were you secretive about having the surgery, or were you happy to share that and found
No,
allies?
never. Yeah, no, I know a couple of people that have had gastric sleeve and are very, very quiet about it, which for me, I don't really understand that, because the reason why I went and inquired is because I knew someone that had it done, and they were a big, big advocate for it. It changed their life. It made them feel better.
Mm.
So since I've done it, I've had about 4 friends um,
I
come and
can
see
vouch
Dr.
for
Arun and
that.
have had the surgery. And I have another one that is having it done next month with Dr. Arun. So I think I was more of like a guinea pig for my friends. But another thing I would like to say is that I trusted the process, and I followed what the dietitian and what Dr. Arun suggested. So, I felt like because I did do it properly, I had the best results. I'm still, little things like not eating and drinking at the same time. I still till now do not eat and drink at the same time. Because it's a lifestyle change that I wanted to make sure is going to be a long-term thing, not just a short-term thing. Um, so that's when I do suggest to people to get it done, because it's a great thing, and it was a great thing for me. I just let them know that you can't just get it done and then just go about your day and eat how you've been eating. That's why you've gained the weight. You have to make those lifestyle changes. I think maybe for me it was easier because prior to putting on the weight, I was very active and I was very cautious about what I ate. So maybe mentally it was a little bit easier for me than it might be for someone that doesn't have that mentality. But being very honest about what will work and what won't work, if they're not following the steps that they're being told by the people in that profession. I think that's very important as well.
We've often
Great.
said that, it's the body that is having the surgery, the mind still has to catch up, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. No, fantastic.
Wonderful.
Thank you again, Sharday. Please enjoy
Thank you
the
for
rest
having
of your
me.
journey. And thank you, Monique. And also thank you to everybody who's wished me a happy birthday. Yes, I'm an year older, but please don't ask me my age. I still feel pretty young. So I'm excited about it and pumped up to see you at my next webinar in a month's time. So thank you. Stay well. Take care. Enjoy. All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Sharday.
Have a good
Thank you,
night.
Bye.
everyone. Good night.
Bye.